Hello, welcome back. Let's have a look at some of these coins and a couple of other ones that we've not looked at ever actually. So we'll start the video, and just so you know, I'm not your financial advisor and it's not financial advice, but let's have a look nonetheless. Right then, so first of all, obviously we're going to be looking at Bitcoin. We're at Bitcoin on the 4-hourly chart. 4-hourly chart, don't let it fool you into thinking it's completely bearish, even though it does look pretty bearish. What we're finding here is that we did bounce off this support level here, and we bounced enormously. Might have been one of the strongest bounces I've ever seen actually. Yeah, didn't actually expect that. I expected this to be tested a little bit deeper and maybe be broken, but I'm not so convinced that we're going to find this bounce all the way back up here. Such a strong move could go either way. One thing I was looking at, however, is the volume trading. Volume on Binance is pretty high for that one move, but the follow through hasn't been so strong. RSI shot right up, and obviously that's turned these indicators into definitely a short-term bullish trend. We look on the daily, however, we do see more movement to the down. So I would probably, even though I'm not trading in Bitcoin right now, it's a no trade zone for me at the moment, because I can't be certain of which way it's going to go. I would be very careful in picking either direction, as currently I would probably say that it's 60% in favour of going back down again to touch these prices of 9,200 or so. And if that gets tested again, we'll have to see where it goes. But if we do make it all the way back down there, we're probably going to break it and go back down to test our lowest support level of around 8,500. Now, I would say we're 55 to 60% in favour of that scenario, more than, obviously, definitely more than going right back up to our top levels here and here. I think this is going to still be a continuation of this downtrend until a new low has been created. Now, obviously, I didn't expect this big move to happen yesterday, so there's plenty of opportunity for me to be completely wrong over this. But the things that lead me to believe that that is the case is that still we have all our moving averages sloping down. On the daily chart here, all moving averages are sloping down. We may come back up to test this area of just about 11,000 before we find a rejection. And that rejection will push us back down, maybe not immediately, but back down over the next few days, perhaps over the weekend into next week, back down to this level again, and then that level will break. So I'm not so convinced, even though this was a strong move, I'm not so convinced that that move will take us much further than around, well, just above 11,000, testing these moving averages here. If these break and then the trend starts to change, then great, I will start to be more bullish on this one, but at the moment it's still a no trade zone, and it still looks like continuation to me, even though that was a very, very big bounce from that support. Right, so let's have a look at some of these IEO coins, what's been going on with those guys. So let's have a look at Matic versus Bitcoin. So Matic versus Bitcoin still continue to go sideways. We're going to keep going sideways from what I can see here. There's no real reason why it should move either up any significant amount, or, to be honest with you, any further down than our lowest lows, which was 114 satoshis. 113 satoshis. There's no real reason for us to bounce anyway. We're just going to be going perfectly sideways, with a range of perhaps maybe about 20 satoshis, so anywhere between 120 to 140. That's our range. Have a look on the tethered pairing. Tether pairing still making lower lows really on the daily here, but finding a bit of a bounce as this so-called alt season, which isn't really an alt season, but so-called alt season has started to rear its head. Now, on the topic of alt season, this alt season isn't going to be like a previous one. The Bitcoin dominance is still huge. All that's happening right now is that there is a retracement of the Bitcoin dominance, which has given a little bit of opportunity for alts to rise. We can see some rising very well. Things like Litecoin, we'll move on to that shortly, and the reasons for that. But things like the IEOs, the ICOs, when an alt season takes place, the strong always move first. So we'll see big moves on the big top 15, 20, and a few others obviously of the crypto market. They will always move first. Once that move has been created, then money will siphon out of those into these guys, and then eventually all end up back in Bitcoin, presumably. So everyone's got to wait their turn, and some guys will probably miss out altogether. So we'll just have to see, where these opportunities lie. I think with Matic, for instance, Matic has it's done okay for itself previously, so there is relative interest on this coin. It's still early days on it, and the future of its trading is hanging in the balance at the moment with the US Binance issues. But what I should say is, when you zoom out, it does look pretty good still. It's not retraced back down to where it came from, which is what you see in some of these other major alts actually. So that is actually a good sign, and it finding a bottom just above 1 cent, which is pretty good. So it's retraced 75% actually, but it's not retraced 100% like other major altcoins. So that might be an incentive for some people to choose this over other coins. Anyhow, let's move on to BitTorrent token, and there's always this in here forever. I can never get rid of it for good. So BitTorrent token not looking too great, pretty much doing what most alts are doing, finding a bit of a bounce as a result of yesterday's movement. Where's it going to go from here? Indicators suggest down on the daily. Yep, all indicators suggest down. There might be a small bounce taking place today, but indicators would certainly say more move to the down. This one does tend to trend with Bitcoin, so it mimics Bitcoin rather than general alts at the moment, which is a real shame. Volume is extremely low. Definitely an underperformer at the moment, considering it had its releases. We got Justin Sun doing his Warren Buffett thing around the corner. That might help, but I'm not going to get my hopes up, but it might help. As far as the chart's concerned, it's also another no trade zone for me personally, which is a real shame because I did really like this coin. What I'd like to see in general is this alt start to take on its own shape and stop mimicking Bitcoin's moves, and make some higher highs and higher lows when it starts to correct in these little areas. If it starts to do that and it starts to take on a life of its own, and I mean making its own trend rather than following the general trend of alts or Bitcoin, then I might get interested again. But for the moment, it's a bit of a no trader. The market's weird at the moment. I'm personally not really getting involved in anything other than Litecoin. I'm just holding some Litecoin from the other day. That's all I'm involved in right now. Satoshi pairings still doing the same thing. In fact, making little lowers actually, going lower. We're as low as 8 Satoshis now. So there's no reason to expect it to make any higher highs than, I'd probably say no higher than, where did we get here? 15. That was very high. If we made it back up to 15 again, I'd be very impressed. But we're looking to trend sideways, and maybe over the next, depending on what Bitcoin does. If Bitcoin moves up, then lower Satoshis for BitTorrent. If Bitcoin moves down, probably just trend sideways, and maybe there might be a small opportunity for us to move up. But that remains to be seen, because we do follow Bitcoin on its moves down. So yeah, a bit of a no trader for the moment. Litecoin, what a beast. Litecoin is doing very well, and it did correct enormously from its all-time high, along with all the other alts, but people have decided to buy it up, and I'll tell you why. I think it's almost certainly to do with the halving event, which is taking place in a few weeks. I made a video on the halving event and what to expect when we were around about, I think we were around about this area here, about $120 when I was making that video, and I liked it to the fact that the last halving event, when that took place, there was a $400 increase in price. Sorry, that's not $400, 400% increase in price, which is enormous. Right? But back then, Litecoin was only worth about $1.2 or maybe $1.7. It wasn't worth much, but still, an increase of 400% is an increase of 400%. So, I thought to myself when we were up at these areas here that would be pretty unlikely to see anything quite like that, and even 100% increase from that price would be pretty impressive. So now that we're all the way back down here, 400% still is pretty optimistic, but 100%, 200% perhaps, that looks like it could perhaps take place, and I think people have caught on to that fact and thought that if there's any alt to buy, and if there's any opportunity, if there's any short-term gains to be had, they would be had in Litecoin. So I was waiting to see how far it fell. I picked mine up at around $78. So not too long ago, just about 2 days ago, I bought mine. Just around about this level here, because I thought that's low enough for me. Even if it's just a 50% that I make is good for me. But I do expect it to get back up to its all-time high after the halving event, and probably a little more. So I'm expecting a 100% increase from where I purchased it from. And anyway, indicators would suggest that it's definitely got more movement to the up. Definitely got more movement to the up. We've got to break through these levels of support here, so around about $108. Next will be $120. It will be a big one. Once we get across $120, then we're definitely looking to meet our most recent high of about 145 and beyond. The halving event takes place around about this area here. It should have happened by the 8th of August. So by the 8th of August, I do expect to see us quite high at that point. But we are moving with Bitcoin. If Bitcoin comes down, Litecoin's going to come down as well. But I think it's proven itself at the moment to come down at a slower rate, considering there's a lot of people wanting to buy it, probably just for the halving event. Right, let's look at ERD. So there's no point looking at it on the daily. We'll start with the 4 hour. Okay, so 4 hour, it's not that great, to be honest with you. It's okay, but it's not that great. It's very similar to Matic. When you look at Matic, it's pretty similar to that. In fact, Matic's a little bit better of a performer. We'll just have a quick look at the Satoshi values on a 4 hourly. Yeah, it's almost exactly the same as Matic, but they flip around. I mean, Matic's just essentially going sideways now, whereas ERD looks like it actually wants to come down a little, but basically a sideways trend, and probably we'll just call it sideways, really. I couldn't say if it's going to go up or down. I mean, in all these indicators are just a little bit of downside in the short to medium term, but a general sideways trend from here on. I can't give you any further indicators to say it's going to move up or down. The RSI has made looks like it's made a higher high, but it's still in the making at the moment. Moving averages are basically sloping, crossing all over the place. To be honest with you, they're all over the place. Weaving in and out of each other, but generally on a sideways trend. So this basically could mean that you go either way. The nature of the market at the moment would suggest that alts do have a bit of a pump, so yeah, it might have a pump, but as far as coins are concerned, this isn't a coin really to be interested in. I'm not interested in it. There's other opportunities out there. Like I said, the strong will move first, so within those top 10 to 20 altcoins, they will certainly have nice big 10 to 20% pumps. Once Bitcoin's decided what it's doing and this alt season has taken place, we've got to make sure that the Bitcoin dominance has retraced a little more before those pumps already happen. And to be honest with you, they kind of already did happen. We did see 10% pumps across the board yesterday, and with some on the day before as well. So yeah, they already have happened. They're probably likely to happen a bit more, so another 10 to 20% on those guys. And some of them a lot more than that, and then the money will filter into the smaller alts. But this one, like I say, it could go either way. It did have a previous sort of good look about it. It did actually look okay before, so we'll see where this rebound takes us, if this rebound takes us anyway. But we are underneath all the moving averages, even though they are going sideways, and it does say more indication to the down, so I'm not interested in that one, to be honest with you. We're going to look at this one, FTM Phantom. Now, because it came onto Binance not long ago, the chart is very small. It does look pretty crap. It looks pretty awful, actually. But in general, I am going to start to keep my eye on this one, because it's not that I expect great things from it, but it's always good to have other coins on your radar, and a radar involving coins like Phantom. I know Phantom, it does appear to be quite a busy company with its fingers in a few pies. But the chart right now doesn't look great. It looks pretty much like most IO type coins and general alts, really. I mean, it fell enormously on its launch to Binance. Lots of people just selling it off, really. And now we're sort of finding some new ground. We're ever so slightly making higher lows, but we're also making lower highs. So we're going to find ourselves into a little crescendo at the moment. I expect some more downtrend, but there will be a point where I'll be looking to maybe buy this up. So that was the Satoshi value. Let's look at the tether pairing. Tether pairing does definitely look worse. We're definitely making lower lows on this one and lower highs. So we've got to wait this one out. But again, it's one that I am relatively interested in. But we've got to wait to find where it's going to go. So it's just on my radar. That's all I'm saying. It's not anything I'm looking to buy soon. It's something I'm waiting to see a change in trend. When that change in trend happens, then I'll make my decision if it's something that I am looking to buy. For the moment, I just wanted to let you know it's on my radar. I don't know if it's something that you've been looking at, or if you're holding, or if you've got any information about it for me. Please leave a comment down there. It is new to me right now, so we're just going to see how that all plays out over time. Anyway, that brings us to the end. I'd like to say thanks to everyone for subscribing, and thanks for donating. It does mean a lot to me, and I hope you all have a lovely day and a good weekend as well. Take it easy.